Hello and welcome to another episode of Within Crisis podcast. This week we are talking video game music with the wonderful Marco Meatball. You might know him on YouTube, analysing music, just grooving with tunes. How are you, Marco?
I'm doing all right. How are you? How are you guys?
Not
Thanks for
too
having me on.
glad to have you. Also with me is my co-host, as always, Ash. How are you doing?
I am marvellous, thank you very much.
Excellent. So, Marco, what we like to do with our guests here is get your history with video games. Or games in general, card games, live action, whatever you're into. What is your
hmm
journey?
Yeah, so when I was 7, I immigrated from Italy to the United States, and I really didn't speak English. And the first thing that my grandparents ever gave me was a Super Nintendo. And I was like sitting there. I remember it crystal clear. I was like playing with my cousins, and we were just sort of like not being able to speak because I didn't speak English. And I just like was enraptured by Super Mario and the music, yes, but mostly just like the idea that I could play a game like the Power Rangers video game like blew my mind.
Yeah.
Um, and then from then on, I just like I don't know, I got sucked in, and that was like the thing that I fell absolutely crazy in love for, and it's been a journey ever since. I mean, my greatest Christmas was getting the PlayStation and like playing through Metal Gear Solid and Final Fantasy 9. And yeah, I mean, games have changed my life, and I feel really privileged that I sort of accidentally became a person who talks about video game music every day. Like it's really an accident. So
Yeah.
here I am. It's crazy. Yeah. So that's my sort of journey condensed. I've never done tabletop. I've never done D&D. I've never done anything like consoles were pretty much the only way. A little bit PC gaming, but I think I'm going to start getting back into that here pretty soon. So yeah, I'm nervous about that. So that's been my journey with gaming.
Did gaming also lead to you becoming an opera singer?
The music of Final Fantasy really did, yeah, and that was really the big thing. That sort of it's interesting because it's like one of those things when you're a kid where you don't necessarily like recognize that you're listening to music and like music is moving you because you just like don't have like a frame of reference for it. But I like very crystal clearly remember playing Final Fantasy 7, and I was playing Safer Sephiroth, and I remember really clearly like the music like scaring me. And Bizarro Sephiroth too, right? But there was something about like that fight sequence that I literally remember the way the light was set in the room, and how my mom was rushing me to turn it off. So I had to actually do it twice because my mom kicked me off the PlayStation. And I remember, but it's weird that I remember that. It's weird that like that's like a pivotal moment in my freaking child. You know what I mean? Like what? Like it's so strange. But yeah, Final Fantasy 7, and then I remember distinctly Final Fantasy 8. I was so excited that there was like another Final Fantasy that was Final Fantasy 8, and I just started Final Fantasy 7, and I was like, what? There's a Final Fantasy 8 coming out. Um, and I remember Fisherman's Wharf. Do you guys remember that song?
Fisherman's
Fisherman's Wharf.
Horizon. Yeah.
Fisherman Horizon. Yes, sorry, Fisherman's Horizon. And I
Yes.
remember how peaceful that was, and the blue and the like the cities. If I remember correctly, I can't remember. It's all blurred together. But that and Final Fantasy 9, yeah, I got the classical piano like covers of those, and
Yeah, I've
I like
listened to those.
literally burned. Yeah, they're so good. And I don't even know who. I'm still to this day I'm not entirely sure who played those, but the CD, like I listened to it so much that it had like a ring around the back because I like burned through it. I don't know if yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, like my history with music in general was more attached to video games. Like, growing up, you have your cliques, don't you? You got, the golf kids, the emo kids, etc., etc. I was the way I define myself is I've always been a video game nerd. That was what I spent all my time doing. So my music was always influenced by gaming, Final Fantasy especially. The first PlayStation game I ever saw was Final Fantasy 8. That was my introduction
Mm-hmm.
to that console. I didn't get it until later, but it's inspired enough that I've got, I can't really see it, tattoo there from the game. Got a
Oh,
Griever
cool.
tattoo. But yeah, 8 is probably the Final Fantasy I go back to the most, just listening to the soundtrack.
Mm,
Outside
yeah,
of
that's 9 for
living
me.
in Final Fantasy 14 and just listening to that world.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
Right.
stupendous
Which,
amount of hours.
yeah,
Paul,
it's
so Paul is well aware of this. My introduction to 14 to Final Fantasy was quite odd in the sense that the first one I played was 10 Part 2 before playing 10.
wow.
Obviously, because that makes perfect sense. And yeah, because I've written it down here that still to this day, one of my favorite songs is, and it's a bit of a nostalgic factor for me, is the Memories of Light Waves of 10.2.
Core
That
memories
is
of the
still,
recent night, yeah. That
Wow.
as a piano
I
piece is so
remember.
beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. I don't think I've ever played 10-2. That's crazy.
It's worth
So
the play.
I've only played.
my two favorite
Is
songs
it?
of that.
It's the Charlie's Angels game, if that makes sense for you, memory.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it does.
the
I know.
mini.
I remember. Yeah,
There's
I
also
was.
the Besaid Island. You have the Besaid Island of Final Fantasy 10, but
Yeah, yeah.
the theme that they used in 10.2 was really relaxing, really nice to listen to.
Huh. Yeah, I'm still hooked on like Kuja's theme.
Yeah.
I think Kuja's theme is one of my absolute favorite. I think even more so than the Sephiroth. I mean, One Winged Angel is great, but man, yeah, I really really love Kuja's theme.
Yeah,
Younger man.
so our audience can know, I did ask Marco and Ash before the show to pick out certain composers, certain songs that have resonance with them, whether it's nostalgic or just hits you. And funny enough, Libri Vitali, the opening song to 8, is one that
Mm-hmm.
stuck by me for years. If I get into
Mm-hmm.
nostalgia, I can just picture the entire intro FMV sequence. And
Oh, he's so
we're
good.
talking Final Fantasy, but it's also Final Fantasy 8 that was the starting point of video game music being recognized globally. Because Eyes on Me was the first video game song ever to win an award
Oh my
outside of a
gosh, it
video
did
game
win an
category.
award.
Yeah. So
That's
that was the
right.
turning point, really, from, yeah, you just listen to music from video games to, oh, it's nuts now. You can chuck on the radio like to Classic FM and get Aries theme from 7 being played by the Russian Philharmonic Orchestra.
It's when video games started incorporating actual music from bands. Like, for example, the example I got here is when Halo 2 brought in Incubus and Breaking Benjamin to do songs on the
Hmm.
soundtrack for, and yeah, I obviously, like you're saying, for its time, I was big into my new metal, so to have those two bands play in one of my favorite games, it was fantastic. Uh, but yeah, I'm
Well,
actually going to mention, because we've mentioned a lot of Final Fantasy and you go for like the Japanese composers here, but I will mention Martin O'Donnell and for Halo, from the fact that Never Forget is a song that I've got that listed here as the one of my top specific fives that I've listed.
I mean, it's crazy how good how good video game music has sort of always been, and how I think it's been a refuge for a lot of people. You know, to like both with the core memories, but also just like how important. Oh, sorry, I'm going out of focus. How important video game music is for like core memory's sake, and
Yeah.
like how these things sort of they lock us in, and it's like I don't think that. I mean, I think like Halo's a great game, but would it have been as great if it wasn't for the music? You know, and I think that
Yeah,
that's a thing that I often think about, like, because yes, gameplay wise, it was fantastic. I didn't play a lot of Halo because I was a PlayStation person growing up, but you know, like Halo's gameplay was amazing, but I think the music really elevated it to like the next level,
Yeah.
which is pretty interesting.
You recently did the stream ranking Elden Ring songs out of context, just from the musical
Yeah.
thing, and you said like if I listen to this specific song in context of the game, it would be S, you know, but just by
Mhm.
itself, it's lower because out of the context, it doesn't fit as a standalone song. And I think that's one of the things with video game music overall is
yeah,
because it's designed, you're in these worlds for hours upon hours. There are times where the
Right.
songs are so memorable as just background music that
Mhm.
there's been times that me and Ash have talked about Over Them Hills from Final Fantasy 9, the overworld theme in the Mist Continent. You can fall
That's
Mhm.
what
asleep to that. It's so relaxing.
Bum 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 bum. Yeah, I know.
I find that like when I was trying to think off the top of my head earlier today, my top like most epic moments I can remember from like particular video games, and almost all of them probably wouldn't have been as epic if it wasn't for the music. The music definitely has quite a lot of
Yeah.
bearing on what makes that scene so good. From the fact that yeah, okay, you got the character development and the story that leads to that, but the music plays such a big part.
Yeah.
Huge.
Two of the songs
Enormous.
I've picked represent that in such a big way. The one I'll bring up now is the ending song for Devil May Cry 3. Just because it's a credit song, so you're not thinking much of it. Devils Never Cry by Tetsuya Shibata, written also by Sean Shooty HD McPherson of Hostile Grove. It's just this epic rock track, and you're in the credits rolling, and realize I can still control Dante, and you're just fighting this hordes and hordes of demons with this music going through the credits. It's like the most enjoyable credit scene I've had. And then going to another song written by Takeharu Ishimoto, Price of Freedom. A song that's played 4 times throughout Crisis Core 5 Fantasy 7. Each time
And the song
represent each time before the ending, it just represents the choice of freedom and what you must do. Then you play that ending with Zack. Spoilers here, warning. You realize in that moment you got this song playing. It's so sad, so green. You're against wave and wave of Shinra troops, just fighting not for your freedom but for Cloud's. You're paying the price of someone else's freedom, and that was the first song and video game that put me in tears. I was
it was
broken playing that game.
it was one of those like it probably would have been it would have hurt more if you didn't know that was going to happen, but from the fact that obviously Crisis Core came after 7, you're well aware that Zack has died, and you knew that was going to happen at some point, but it didn't make it any less brutal, and that song didn't help it.
And God
I
help
never
it.
played Crisis Core.
It's again a remaster in December. The
Yeah,
reunion
I'm
version.
I'm excited to really try it.
The
Yeah.
soundtrack is absolutely amazing.
Spectacular.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, Dark Price
Cool.
of
That's good to
Freedom,
know.
like I said, just the way it builds up across the story, it in those
I hope,
certain plot points, you can see it's built up into that grand finale.
I know they said there's going to be some form of remastering to the music as well, but I hope they don't kind of alter it too much because it was perfect as it was.
Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, going back to Halo for that epic moment, if it wasn't for, well, Halo 1, let's bring up, you're now for the first time, you're in that Warthog, that chase off the enemy ship at the end. I think it's a ship. Ash, you're the Halo expert here.
Which
The
one
ending of
referring to now?
1, when you're in the Warthog.
Ended one. Trying to remember Halo 1 now. So obviously going from Reach, the Pillar of Autumn leaves Reach, and then that's obviously where Halo 1 pull that carries on. So yeah, I think it's where they are detonating the Pillar of Autumn.
Yeah, so when you're just escaping, you're just gonna ba 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 ba, and it just
The main
elevates
theme.
that scene. But
Isn't it
it's
interesting when they
yeah,
they take that main theme and they put it at the end like that?
yeah,
So,
See now, 14. So you and walkers, they that
oh my god.
what a place to use that song. Like because we all heard the song. It was in the trailer, but
yeah.
to
Fog
hear it again,
Falls.
but where it was played, it was just epic.
Yeah,
That
I have
was
to give it
so cool.
to Amanda and Sam. Their vocals through that.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see. Happy the fact that I'm going to be seeing Architects soon, so get to hear Sam again.
Awesome.
They're
Awesome.
supporting Biffy Clyro, which was a very. I've never seen Biffy Clyro before. Really wanted to see them, and yeah, being supported by Architects, which I have seen before. Just two very different genres. So to see that both bands supporting each other is quite big.
Mm.
So
Yeah, I don't think I've actually listened.
Marco, what is on your list?
Oh,
Gosh.
just
Oh,
so
go
I
on.
can kind of just show how I kind of split my list out. I put it in top 5 nostalgia inducing, top 5 sleep inducing, the top 5 I'm not crying, I've got dust in my eye inducing, and the top 5 epic to my ears inducing. So that's
Well,
how I
so for
kind of.
me, that's a good split,
You
honestly.
forgot the top
To tell you,
5. I'm not asleep. Please don't wake me up. Holy crap, what was this?
that's awesome. The thing is, like, I've been really lucky in that, like, I've also gotten a lot of my tops are actually in like, like right off the bat, Unsung War from what's it, Ace Combat, I think 5-4, Keiki Kobayashi, the Razgriz. I mean, it's just astounding. That's in like my top 5 pieces of music I've ever heard in my entire life. Are we talking like childhood, or are we talking like ever?
Up to you. Your own criteria.
All
I
right,
know
perfect.
this is why I had the split, because if you go on nostalgia, which was one of my categories, I'm like, that might not relate to what I really like today.
Hmm. Well, I know, and that's the thing. Like, things change so much, but like I, I still Lich Dragon Fortisax. Like, yeah, it just came out, but something about that piece in Elder Ring just like hits me so freaking hard, and it like lights me up. Like, it's insane how much it just like slaps you in the face with the organ in that second section, and from a classical perspective, it honestly it leaves me with my like jaw on the floor. Like, it's insane. I think I think what else? I mean, there's just so many. Oh, the Battlefield 1942 theme by Joel Erickson.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
lights me up. And really, I think like ultimately, like that's my criteria is like what speaks to me in like a deep, profound way. Like City Ruins, Rays of Light by Keiichi Okabe. That da 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 da. The plaintiveness of that really slaps me in the face. And then of course I've got, like I said, Kuja's theme. Um, of course, One Winged Angel. It's weird how I've always gravitated towards these like really intense songs, but like Kind of Salvation, that's what started the channel. That song I used to listen to every single day, and I love Kind of Salvation. Also from Near.
Yeah. Have you listened to the 14 rendition?
Yeah, I actually don't like it as much as the original. Like the purity of the original. I don't get me wrong. I love that they were able to include the prelude theme, right? Yeah, and all the and like the Final Fantasy theme, but there's just something so pure about Emmy Evans and the way that she sings that, and I mean it's beautiful. And of course, then I've been lucky because of obviously a large portion of my viewer base comes from the Genshin Impact world, and Yu Peng Chen. As far as from like a classical music perspective, I mean, the La Signora theme, I still it blows me. I mean, I just can't believe how good that music is. And then of course, like To Xanarkand is another like pivotal song for me. And
Yeah.
yeah, there's countless.
It was the Black Mages cover of Tuzanakin that introduced me to operatic singing. If
I
you
never
know
heard
the
that.
To the Skies Above. So it
Oh.
starts off with the piano version, then they bring out an opera singer that sings over the top of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird, but it's catchy and it's weird. It's the only way I can describe it. It feels off because like you're ruling to Anakin. Now it's just piano, leave it be. But the lyrics suits what they're going for.
Yeah.
It's Uematsu going experimental.
Have you
You
ever
can
heard
see.
the Final Fantasy Suite, To Xanarkand Suite? It's like with a fully orchestrated thing. It's amazing.
I've
It's
listened to some
crazy.
orchestrated stuff. It's hard to say which versions. Like Distant Worlds is the
If you
soundtracks I listen to a lot for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Me too. Me too.
the piano version of Memories of Light Waves of 10-2, that is
Ooh.
it's quite a spectacular one to listen to. I was a fan of the song as a standard, but then the piano rendition was just even better because, like you said, they kind of go off on a tangent, but it just kind of it really does complement the song.
I can never remember the name of the song. It was I think it was the piano collection for Final Fantasy V. A particular song on that is like you hear the MIDI version and it doesn't sound the same song. The piano version is just I think it's like Dear Friends or something. It's been a few years since I've listened to the song, but I got it in my head and I just can't pull it out of my head. But it's just this beautiful little like 2 minute song, and it's just one of those ones I can just listen to and just mellow out. Just put headphones on, just close my eyes.
What's the Graha Tia that for Final Fantasy IV? The oh my gosh, what's it called? Do you remember from Final Fantasy IV? I think it's the main theme. It's really good, and it's like that too. It's like sweepingly epic, but it's also really beautiful and peaceful. Final Fantasy 13 has one too. Sarah's theme.
Yeah.
Sarah's theme for Final Fantasy 13 is insanely good. And it's only 2 minutes. It's crazy.
Final Fantasy 13 was the first time I ever had an issue with an opening song to Final Fantasy. Them wanted to get so Western audience, bringing in Leona Lewis to sing the English theme. I just could not gel with it. I listened to what he used in the Japanese version. I'm like, why didn't he just use this? This fits 13 so much better. I had a similar thought with 15 as well, with Florence and Machine's rendition of Stand By Me. Beautiful song.
Oh, yeah.
Well
yeah.
sung. But Somnus, the true song for 15, is so beautiful. So impactful. It's like, why don't you use this? Because
when it's interesting.
Go on.
No, go ahead. I'm just interjecting. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's like, but when you go back, you got Liberty Fatality, Bombing Mission, Answers especially. You got these epic openings that are written by Uematsu, Soken, or the internal team who understand the game and understand the world. They've spent time with the developers to get the story. It's like, it's why I love the 14 music so much. As much as it's Soken composing it, it is Ishikawa and Koji Fox getting involved writing the lyrics, giving the context. So when you got these epic moments like Titan's theme, which for years people didn't know it was shouting Bow Down Overdweller just because of Koji's rapping so quickly, to Flow, to Answers, to The Edge.
Dragon song, yeah.
All of these songs, when you know the context, it breaks it down. Like I've probably had more tears in my eyes through 14 soundtrack than movies and books ever.
I'm gonna say for Heaven's Ward, if it wasn't for obviously Shadowbringers and Endwalker kind of like topped it, but coming up to that, it goes from Dragon Song into Freefall into Revenge of the Horde. You go for those 3 stages, and the song just gets. It just crescendos, doesn't it? Just you hit that like that when you go into the second kind of phase, well, third phase, I guess, second turn of the battle. It just that kind of brings a tear to your eye, doesn't it?
I think it's interesting too that Heaven's Word is a very generally, sweepingly generally it's really gothic and really based on a lot of classical writing, and then it's interesting to then when we pivot to Endwalker and Shadowbringers, and obviously Stormblood's in between, and that's a different energy, obviously, but they all fit so beautifully, and it's incredible to hear how different Heaven's Word and Stormblood are, and then as we pivot to Shadowbringers and Endwalker, it's incredible. It's almost like improvisatory. Like there's a creative flow that I feel like Soken and the team achieved there, that it almost makes it seem like it's experimental in some ways,
Yeah.
Anyway, we could talk about Final Fantasy 14 for 4 hours.
Yeah, I will bring up something I mentioned in your live stream yesterday, replying to one of your viewers, is around Realm Reborn and Heaven's Ward. It was very much Soken still on the back of his years under Uematsu. So he still had Uematsu style. It's like we got Uematsu 2.0 in Soken. But then from Stormblood, when it became more of Soken's own child, more and more over the years, you could see his own styles envelop through. I know Alex Mukala did a wonderful video breaking down the Soken style that's hidden in a lot of his tracks until he did an interview between Alex, Husky by the Geek, and Soken. And Soken didn't even click on it. I said, oh, bloody hell, I do that.
Well, I think sometimes composers don't
He's not used to
necessarily think that.
nuances.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I think Ash is
Yeah,
like
cut
delayed.
over you a
Oh
second.
no, I was just saying, yeah. No, I was just saying that yeah, some people just don't know their own nuances until someone else points it out to them, and then it becomes
Well, right.
very obvious. Then
Yeah. And they do their thing, you know what I mean? Like I feel like composers don't really necessarily. The thing is, like, folks like for like me or Alex or whoever, or like Davi Vosk or Jesse, like the folks that I know that do this, like we analyze music in our own unique different ways, but like I don't think that the composers are necessarily analyzing their own music. You know, like I mean, yes, they are because they're listening to it, and I'm sure many are perfectionists and they want to do a good work, of course. But I don't think it's just in the way that in classical music, Verdi was not sitting there analyzing his music, wondering, oh well, you know, is this that, what is my musical style? Like he was just writing, you know what I mean? And Beethoven was not. Yes, they were obsessed about being as close to perfect as possible, I'm sure, but in terms of they probably weren't deeply analyzing what they were doing.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I know a song that stays with me now. It's a song I listen to so out of context of the game as much as it's nostalgia. It's the opening song to Legend of Dragoon, If You Still Believe. That
Wow.
all these years later, I remember listening to it in the demo, back when demo discs were a thing, all those years ago. And that song, even today, sounds fresh in my mind. It's like, this could have been released a week ago, and I still love it.
I have this weird nostalgia for Legend. I never even play Legend of Dragoon, but it's one of those games that like I always wish I had played. You know, like but it was right at the time where I think what year did it come out? I can't remember, but it was right around the time of
99, I think.
yeah, so right around Final Fantasy 8 and 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like gameplay wise, maybe it wasn't necessarily as great as it could have been, but there is something about like that whole like game that you say Legend of Dragoon, and I'm like, yeah, I love that game, even though I never played it. There's something about it that it just looks so cool.
There's a Twitch stream I follow, Slackaholicus. He recently played through it for the first time, and he wasn't a huge fan of it at the end, but where he summed it up was pretty on point. It's a game that hits you with
Mm.
nostalgia, even if you've never played it, because it's such a product of its time. With the musical styles and just the world map and everything, it makes you feel like you're playing other games of the same type, even though it's its own beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was obviously it was Sony's attempt at trying to do their own Final Fantasy. They released it at
triple
time,
A
it definitely got
RPG.
shadowed.
Yeah.
I will mention it because I have mentioned it before on the podcast, but I had a bit of a tragic kind of history with Legend of Dragoon from the fact that I picked it up in a car boot sale when I was a kid. Picked up 3 discs and loved it. Got so stuck into this game, and I just can't wait to get home from school, start playing it. And I got through disc 3, and then the big words on the screen saying "Please insert disc 4." I only ever had 3 discs. So that was as far as I could get with the game, and it was the most disappointed I had ever been.
That's tragic.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah. Ash got
and it
locked
wasn't
out.
a cheap game then.
Yeah, Ash got locked out of Disc 4. I got locked out of Disc 4 for not understanding how to get past one town in that game. There's a part that you have to find this 3-number code to allow you to go to another part of the city. And I could not find that code. I borrowed it off a friend at the time. Spent a week trying to find this code. My friend, I haven't even got that far yet. I was like, you're useless. But then I reborrowed it like 10 years later, completed it, and even then it's like 10 years, like, it's not going to live up. Playing back through all 3 original discs is like, yeah, this is still stands up. It just, like, the art direction, the musical stylings, it is that sort of gothic, old school high fantasy vibe, which also helps because, most RPGs at that time were very high fantasy. It was the rare ones like 6 and 7 and 8 that were a bit more modernized, a bit more industrial. But it's like the gothic stylings that I tended to gravitate to, like going to the PlayStation 2. Games like Dragon Guard and Chaos Legion, Shadow Hearts, all these really creepy gothic sounds. And that's what drew me. I was looking up earlier at part of the show, like the composer for Shadow Hearts, because that is a game I love and we'll be doing a show eventually on. But I was looking at, he's actually part of Earthbound Papas with Nobuo Uematsu now. Just this cross-pollination of composers I didn't expect to happen now.
God, you're talking about discs, and it's so funny because, like, I gave Final Fantasy VIII to a friend, and they broke it, and so I never got to finish Final Fantasy VIII. Also, it was hard, and I didn't enjoy my time with it at all. But
bought 8 at least 4 times over the years as a physical disc, never mind digital versions.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
that's how I am about 9.
My first experience of 8 was a bit of a screw up from the fact that I kind of had it ingrained in me, the standard RPG kind of trope where you go out, you grind, you level up your stats, and so obviously 8 was not exactly like that. If anything, you were kind of compelled more to focus on your the gathering of magic, isn't it, and your the abilities. The junctionist system, more so than going out and just fighting battles. If anything, you want to avoid that and try and keep it under.
You start beating up the weak stuff in the forest. 10 levels ago, I was one-shotting these. What the hell happened?
And also just having to siphon the magic and stuff. It's one
of those systems as a kid you don't appreciate, then you go into it with a better mentality and understanding the game systems, and you're like, this shit is so broken. Like, if you do things properly, by the end of disc 1, you are hitting max damage. You've got your main character's best weapon, and you just breathe through the rest of the game.
You say the same about Final Fantasy 12 from the fact that the gambit system. I just can be asked with it. Really, it was just too much head work. But now my occupation, my job is a computer automation engineer. So my job is to actually build these, like the logic, and then actually having macros built into an automation. So it's when my most recent playthrough of 12, I was like, what's the best automation I can build here? Like something I could just sit back and just watch them just annihilate anything.
Just do the thing.
If I don't target an enemy under this HP value, I can go to sleep and come back in the morning. You just keep respawning. Yeah, 12 has some fantastic instances of just, I can farm without being near the game.
Built-in bot was great.
But speaking of grinding, my wife, she absolutely hates one video game, and that's Tales of Exilia. She was ill the one night.
That could be taken so the wrong way. Talking about grinding, my wife.
Get the filth out of your mouth.
Exactly.
Yeah, she was ill the one night, sleeping on the sofa. I was grinding out for all the trophies, and I was in the second world, just grinding in the overworld, and it's the same song on loop. Because she was ill, it bled into her dreams. And if I was near that game, it was either headphones on or I'm muting the TV. She gets PTSD over that song.
Like, so when I'm doing my dailies and I teleport into Lidoran to do the pixies, my partner turns to me and goes, "Can you turn the volume down? I can't stand that music."
Oh my gosh! Yes.
She hates it, so I don't blame her. I'm not a big fan of that one either.
It's funny how like the Pavlovian thing, where like I think I was playing some sports game, some racing game, and I was next to a composer, a conductor, and he was like, "Can you turn off the game? Like I don't want this earworm stuck in my ear." And I was like, "But it's good." And he was like, "No, no, no, because it loops, and so like it's gonna be in there." You know what I mean? Like it's just funny.
Yeah, it is.
Oh god.
The original Wipeout on PlayStation. That
Mm.
soundtrack sticks in my head.
I'm so glad you mentioned it
Yeah,
because it was on here.
Cold Storage's Messy J or Message. I
Uh,
need to hear one note of that, and it's in my head for a week.
so yeah, it's the bass riff
It's
that's
the
on loop,
bom
isn't
bom
it?
bottom bom
So
bom bom
uh,
bottom bom bom bottom.
so Cold Storage, or Tim Wright as he is known as, for me, for Wipeout, it was Cold Comfort. That was the song that I written down.
Mm.
It's weird how some games we love because the video game music is written in house. Your Final Fantasies and your RPGs in general tend to do this. Then you get
Mm-hmm.
games like Wipeout, like Tony Hawk's, that use real bands, and then you connect it to a band a different way than if you just listen to the radio. There's bands I've gone
Uh,
into because I've played Tony Hawk so much, like Goldfinger's Superman from Tony Hawk's 1. I love
Mm-hmm.
that song. Don't listen to the band. I've gone back to listen to it years later, but that song just like I need to fire up Tony Hawk. Let's go. It's one of those songs that
Just to
I just need to
experience it.
boot up the game.
a little thing about
Well,
Cold Storage, Wipeout. He was asked originally just to do one song for the album, but then they came back to him and asked if he could do the entire soundtrack.
because it was so good.
Yeah, shout out to the
Yeah,
Welshie.
yeah, he is from Wrexham.
I think video games do such a great job of allowing us to like connect to pieces of music that then like stick with us. You know,
Yeah,
it's like it's a really interesting thing that I don't think other mediums do. And I think that video games, like, I think that's why some of these songs become so important for people. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's very much a case for music in general, rather than sure you can watch films in different languages and get the gist, even if you don't understand the language. But it's the music in the films that help convey the story. It's the same with video
Right.
games. There's so much selection in music that you could be in a room with someone that does not speak your language, like hand signals, everything is completely different culturally. But you could just play Papaya to, yeah, Papaya, happy. You can play something that's solemn. You can just express everything you need to through a piece of music.
Through papaya.
How could you not smile
Oh
with
god,
Papaya?
oh god, papaya. I love that song so
Yeah,
much.
I'm not referencing your birthday stream at all.
Oh yeah. Oh god.
But another thing I'd say for music is, and video, for me personally, for video game music, it's allowed me to get through so many dark times.
Yeah.
Like, I'm unfortunate enough to have lost both my parents before I reached 30. So, video games connects me a lot to memories of my childhood, being around my parents. There's certain ones that will not even be something I've played at all during those years, but like the themes of the game all strike me. Last of Us Part 2 hit me
Mm.
a lot. I can't remember what song it is now, the one that Joel plays on guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And I just couldn't stop thinking about my dad because growing up, my dad was a musician. He played in 30 odd bands throughout his life. He taught me how to play acoustic guitar, so just seeing the scenes where Joel teaches Ellie the guitar, it just hit me. It's one of those things that it didn't hit
Yeah.
me till afterwards because when that game came out, Ash was at my house for that weekend. We drilled that game start to finish over 3 days. Straight after the game going, this is amazing, and after the game going, I want to kill Abby. How dare you do that to
Fuck
Joel?
you, Abby. Oh, that was just insult to injury. So you already detest this particular character because of obviously what happens, but then you're kind of forced to play as them, and I'm just like, no, I just don't want to play them. Like, don't make
it
me
was
do
a
this.
game I had to play a second time to see Abby's story, not in a haze of anger. Like, right, I could see what motivated it to this part. The music as well, paying more attention the second time through. Just to convey Abby's journey is, yeah, it's nuts how the music can change your entire opinion of the game. Because for years,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, go on.
oh no, finish.
All I was saying is, for years, because of mobile gaming and battery life being terrible, I played a lot of games with no music. Pokemon, I think, until the Switch version, I played without music, unless I had, a cable plugged in to keep it on charge, because I just didn't want the battery to die if I was in school or out and about. So it was a weird experience, me going back and listening to, like, what's it, Lavender Town from original Pokemon. Listening to that music, this would have creeped the hell out of me as a kid, because it's just
It's
this glitchy, creepy sound.
I used to have the Game Boy Pack adapter for the N64. So obviously I was one of the special children who managed to get to see Pokemon Yellow, Red or Blue in actual color on the screen. Yeah, when you listen to those songs, but through a television, there was Lavender Town was definitely creepy.
Yeah, I don't remember it. I think I've erased it from my mind, to be honest with you.
Well, it's one of
But
those
it
ones
is crazy.
You could just YouTube Lavender Town conspiracy theory and just watch that video. Like, I could probably see
God,
where
yeah.
that came from.
Someone just wanted to just go quite dark with Pokemon there with that theory.
Yeah.
They're like, let's throw a wrench in that. I think you're right though about music and how obviously it does affect all of us in different ways, and I think that there is a lot of deeply emotional memories that can be unlocked there, that of parents or of siblings or bygone times. And I wonder how much of that, for folks that are a little bit in their 30s or late 20s, how much of that sort of drives their urges to play, and how different things are versus like new players who are experiencing Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox, things like that are kind of coming into this, and that's what's going to be their core memory in 20 years. So it's pretty interesting just how much things have changed, but how much it's a deeply emotional connection that we feel
So
to
it's
this
more.
music.
So I know I'm going to bring up my 5 nostalgia ones here because this is kind of relevant to what we're saying here. It's from the fact that I play modern newer games now, and there's new songs that come along with that I enjoy. And if I was to give an overall top 5, that it's more likely that these more modern games would actually feature in that top 5. But there are ones that for me are still like ingrained in me from like childhood, that it's a nostalgic factor. So for me, the 5 that I have put down, definitely Pallet Town, because seeing as we have mentioned Pokemon, Pallet Town of Pokemon Yellow, Red and Blue. I've mentioned earlier Memories of the Light Waves 10-2, because that was my first experience of Final Fantasy. The ending theme of Street Rage 2, that is my play with my brother on Mega Drive. That was kind of my first experience really playing video games. Obviously doing it 2-player, and probably from memory, the first game I ever actually got to see the credits roll to was Street Rage. Cold Comfort with Wipeout, that was mentioned. And this one is not so much of an old game, but it's something about this particular song that's quite like how I could say, the music from Stranger Things is quite nostalgic, even though I wasn't born in the 80s, I was born in the 90s. But but with my older brother and sister, and I can still remember a lot of like 80s themed stuff from when I was a child. So then again, it's a more modern day thing, so it has the ability to kind of have that nostalgia factor. And for me, is the video game Oxenfree, so the Beach 7 a.m. That song is spectacular, and for some reason it's quite nostalgia inducing for me. So for the nostalgia, they're probably the top 5.
Yeah, Colin
I
just
heard
asked
great
in
things.
chat, thoughts on the bath time song from Nintendogs. Not a game I've personally played. So unless
Oh
Marco Ash have
God,
played, you're out of luck there, Colin.
no,
I can comment on that. Sorry.
But yeah, Oxen
no, I have
Freeze.
not.
Oxenfree's not a game I've played yet. I keep meaning to, but the soundtrack I've sat down thanks to Ash and listened through a few times.
It
Another one like
was.
that is Katana Zero. That has
Yep.
this beautiful.
Or is that made?
Yeah.
Is that made from the same folks that made Hotline Miami?
I am not sure.
I don't. Maybe not.
No.
Maybe not then. Never mind. But yeah,
I'm sure one of
go.
my
Sorry.
viewers in chat might be able to tell us if it's the Hotline Miami team who made Katana Zero.
I think it might be, but I can't remember. Well, that's another one too. Keep talking about Katana Zero. Sorry.
I was just going to mention this. It's just an epic soundtrack. Like each stage is a bit different. But with Ash with Streets of Rage, it brings me back to that time. That 16-bit style music. So whether it's Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, other ones I can't think of. The Power Rangers movie game is one that comes to mind as well on the Super Nintendo.
Well, and two, you were talking about Digimon,
Yeah.
and earlier, and Digimon. I think like those games that have come out. Like I think that there is or really any Pokemon Arceus or
Kyoto has just told us it is the same publisher for Hotline and Katana.
Hey, that's right. Yeah, so I thought so. But so it's pretty interesting, just like how these games I think connect to our nostalgia factor. You know what I mean? And I don't think I've beaten a mainline Pokemon game in my like probably 20 years, probably since Pokemon Red. But I still inevitably buy them because it's like it hits me. Plus, I mean, they are fun, so like
Yeah.
there is like that. You know what I mean? It just hits you.
They are very much a nostalgia trip, the mainline games. It's got to a point that I need a bit more, especially after playing Legends Arceus. It's just such a breath of fresh air compared to the main series. It's not just a repeat. That me and Ash were playing the remakes of Diamond and Pearl, and we both went, yeah, kind of give up on this. Like with Sword and Shield, we have finished our Pokedexes, we enjoyed it, but it then went backwards with the thing, and it's just like.
Yeah,
Either one.
no, sorry, it's the delay.
Whoever jumps in.
No.
Ash.
I was just gonna say, yeah, where Pokemon is like you're saying, it's you need something more from it, and I think that's more to do with when you be like mature, why in the sense of like what the type of games, especially if you're an RPG player. I remember like how Pokemon was quite challenging back when I was a child, but now it's very basic. In an RPG sense, it's a very basic game to play, quite simple. And yeah, it kind of, so when you get old, it kind of loses the challenge, but it's more the nostalgia factor that kind of spurs you on to play it.
I honestly think if I hadn't played Pokemon since Game Boy, and you picked up Sword and Shield, you would feel like you've gone back in time. Fair enough, game mechanics have been updated, there's new things to do, but the way the music is presented, the art style, it would just transport you back to being a child. Because they've kept that stylistic approach to Pokemon through all these years. You pick up a Pokemon, you know you're getting Pokemon. You get, same with Zelda. Fair enough, it's gone from 2D to 3D. But you play Zelda, you know you're playing Zelda with the art style, the sound direction. Final Fantasy, another big example of that. You pick up a Final Fantasy, you hear Prelude, you use these themes that a similar approach. There might be different composers and sound teams working on it, but you know these themes that you're just like, this is Final Fantasy. You could just be out in a different room, hear these certain notes, and you know instantly what's being played in the other room.
Yeah, I think honoring that music too is so fantastic. You know what I mean? It's like not only is it nostalgia, but I also think it's just honoring what's come before in this tradition that we have of music, helping us to tell stories, but also that music has become iconic in and of itself. And I think not including that would be a disservice. Yes, in some ways it's like fan bait, but also it's just something that we just know, and it's imperative to have in it, you know what I mean? Because that's synonymous. You can't have one without the other. And if you don't have the Final Fantasy theme, do you really have a Final Fantasy game? You know what I mean? It's so interesting to have that that thing that's in it that's so important.
I remember when I can't remember if it was Metal Gear Solid 3 or 4, the first one that didn't have the main theme
Oh yeah.
because of the similarities to the Russian piece.
So, Paul, what would you say? Obviously, we had my five
I found
nostalgia.
nostalgia.
Do you think we'd have a top five?
If you still believe, from Legend of the Dragoon, I've mentioned Liberty Fatale. The main theme for Metal Gear Solid is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
The bum 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 bum. Like you see them like
Yep.
Snake. And yeah, nah, it's me. Number 2. Any rendition of the Chocobo theme from any Final Fantasy.
Any of them?
Pretty much, you give me a Chocobo theme and I'm good to go.
13
Oh,
Crazy
the
Chocobo.
Crazy
Come on.
Chocobo, yeah. If I'm in a mood for metal and need air banging, give me that. As the same guys who did the
Best
Happy
Chocobo.
Turtle theme from 7 Remake Integrate, the Yuffie DLC.
Lucky, yeah, the Lucky Beatdown.
Lucky
and
Beatdown version,
Happy
yeah.
Turtle.
Oh, I need a number 5. Ooh, that's a tough one. I can't think of a number 5 right now.
The 4 on that one.
It might have to be the actual Snake Eater song from Metal Gear Solid 3. Just climbing up this ladder for 5 minutes straight as this song plays. As it builds up from
yeah,
being
but-
very echoey, this woman's vocals coming through. Yeah, just figuring it now, it's tugging there. It's just a beautiful piece with the brass section coming in as it goes along, just building up. Marco, over to you.
Wait.
Go on.
Wait, but you think that wait, I Chocobo themes.
Yeah.
See, to me, the superior Chocobo theme is Vamos a la Flamenco. I mean, there's no contest to me. Like, put me in a room with Vamos a la Flamenco on repeat. I'm there. That's all I can think about.
I do love that song.
It's so good.
It does scream early Final Fantasy 9 to me. Also, thanks to 14 now, PvP.
Oh my gosh, yes, of course. I think for me, let's see. One Winged Angel, I would say Metal Gear Solid theme as well. I would say the demo I can't believe I'm about to say this. The demo song from Parappa the Rappa.
Yeah, proper some interesting.
Have you ever
songs.
heard it? Oh my
listened-
gosh.
I've listened to I think I've played number 1, listened to the songs for number 2.
Oh my god. Well, the kick, punch, it's all in the mind. If you're gonna stop me, you're gonna find me. Oh my god. I can't believe, because I didn't have a lot of games, and so we had moved into my new house, and like I just remember like my dad was doing construction on like the living room, and I was just had my TV in the corner, and I just played the demo of Parappa the Rappa like nonstop.
Oh,
God,
you
that's
just
good
brought up a
memories.
memory for me. Can you remember the iToy from PS2? The camera.
Yes.
So you had the washing windows mini game with what was his name? George Formby, wasn't it? When you're cleaning windows. I just remember playing that and looked outside at the same time, and there was a guy washing my windows.
It's just, listen, I mean, it's the stuff that gets unlocked when you think about nostalgia. Oh, also, what was that? Oh my gosh, what's the name of this song? Da 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 da. Final
that's
Fantasy
Fantasy
9's like
9.
main theme.
Oh,
The
shit.
title screen.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the song either. But yeah, I love Final Fantasy 9 soundtrack was music. I could see why Uematsu had to take a break from designing video game music. He went a bit insane. What was it? 108 songs he wrote for that game while he was locked away in Hawaii.
Like that. I mean, that music is so quirky and yeah, it's very good. What's my fifth? That was 4. What was my 5th? I'm trying to think now. Like, what song? I was so obsessed with Final Fantasy that I like didn't.
Yeah, that's the issue with me. It's like, what's not Final Fantasy?
I know.
Yeah.
I was trying to be less Final Fantasy biased in my list. So.
That's what I was making sure to mention. Devil May Cry. It's like Devil May Cry's got amazing music all the way through.
Yeah.
But we haven't mentioned another one, Paul.
What's number 1?
No, we haven't mentioned number 1, but we haven't mentioned another one. You're saying like, we kind of mentioned Devil May Cry, tried to mix it up for Final Fantasy, but you've got Persona.
Oh yeah.
It's Shoji Meguro. I don't know if I'm butchering that.
So.
Probably am. I from the fact that each, from obviously we kind of covered this from the podcast before. Obviously, if you were to go in the whole Shinigami series, then the music in general. But I think we were kind of included just from the ones that kind of were more popular in the Western world, which was 3 to 5, and the music that was included in those 3 games.
Yeah, we had a quick chat about music with Sly. But yeah, speaking of Persona, while you're thinking of number 5, Marco, Persona's 4 Golden's Secret Boss. That was the first time in any video game that a song came on, I put down, while it was on the Vita, I just put it down and I had to listen to the song. It's called The Fog. And it's like, right, this is building up, it's pretty awesome. 40 seconds in, and you just got this guitar coming in. I'm just like, this is amazing. And I just had to listen to it till it looped, just because the song just wonderstruck me. To try and get away from me going mind blown all the time on this show, it just wonderstruck me.
Do you like the Genesis from Persona 4? Do you remember the Genesis? It like has a slow start with just like trumpets and trombones and stuff.
If you can remember what part of the game, might help.
Yeah, I don't know, unfortunately, because it'll come on my channel here pretty soon.
Yeah, I'll definitely watch. But yeah, the Persona music in general, I think 5's the one I remember the music from the most, because I've seen more covers, more reactions to the 5 soundtrack than I've seen for 4.
So covering what we were about to say with Persona, did we cover off your top 5 nostalgia?
I think we're still waiting for Marco's 5th.
My 5th is Super Mario World 3D overworld theme.
Yeah,
that is very specific. Not, that. What did I just say? I just sang the Chocobo theme. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Go down, you making you.
It's in my brain.
I was surprised I didn't mention for my nostalgia the Green Hill Zone from Sonic, because that is such an iconic little ditty.
I was going to say the next top 5 would be the sleep-inducing ones, from the fact that we covered some of these already. To roll off my top 5 here. Streets of Whiterun. I can you just spawn into Whiterun when playing Skyrim and just fall asleep. It's fantastic. Crossing Those Hills, Final Fantasy 9, of course. That was going to be mentioned. The Rakata Greatwood. Although I fell asleep.
Oh,
for that,
really?
Then got Lahid awake. Then almost fell asleep again. Yeah, when it loops back around and scares the living crap out of you. Beneath the Mask, Persona 5. So the rainy day version. Yeah. And Besaid Island 10, Final Fantasy 10 Part 2. That's another one that'll send me off to sleep. You got your 5? Oh.
Ooh. The Beat 6 a.m. from Oxenfree. Crossing Those Hills from 9, because that is so relaxing. There's one innate. I'm trying to think which one I could sleep to the most. It's either the Balam Town or Fisherman's Horizon, because both of them are
Horizon,
just.
yeah.
It's.
One.
I commented on one of your YouTube posts. It's that sense of putting you in a serene place. When something, the mindset is serene and relaxing, it's just I can fall asleep. And on the same vein, the old Charlie and Night theme. Like
You can fall asleep to that?
Oh, easily. Fall asleep with a smile.
God,
And
man.
again, it's the number 5 that causes the issue. Do you want to go, Marco, while I try and think?
Yeah, actually, even though it's one of my favorite songs, "City Ruins," "Rays of Light" from Near Automata is very peaceful, and it definitely like could lull me to sleep, like in a good way. There's a lot of, if you ask my free company in Final Fantasy, I fall asleep to a lot of Final Fantasy songs. I can't pick out one specifically right now, but like God, we'll be playing and I'll just fall asleep, and like we're in the middle of the AOE, and I just get, and I'll be like, oh, I was asleep.
You need to follow Nash now and put Civilization on loop. And put it loud till be calm, Lahi. And like, oh, I'm up.
Oh yeah,
Because
it worked.
Yeah, I love the fact that Lahi's translation is "wake up," so it's quite appropriate.
Yeah. A friend of mine I used to play Final Fantasy 11 with back in the day, and it was so funny from what you were just mentioning then when you're playing with your free company. We'd be in the middle of a battle. It was when we were trying to get the sub job. It was such a hard thing to do in Final Fantasy back in the day, and we were on this one area, this beach, and the music's quite tranquil. And it was it'd be about 12 o'clock, and then suddenly he'd just stop attacking, and I'm getting hammered. I've got all the aggro. I'm like, Luke, wait! And I could just hear him snoring down the headset. I was like, oh, God damn it, he's falling asleep. He could just power down like the Duracell back, the Duracell bunny. If you watch the advert, and the rabbit's just playing the low drum, and then suddenly just slows down and comes to a stop. That's kind of how he played when he was online. He'd be playing and just power down.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how some of these songs are so like beautiful that they really just like. I'm trying to think what else.
I found my number 5. It's the instrumental version of Melodies of Life from 9.
Oh, yeah. That'll get you. Oh, my gosh. Not Man with a Machine Gun? Just kidding.
I could probably fall asleep to that. I'd probably fall asleep when...
Oh my God. Yeah,
when my wife shouted, what the hell are you doing over there?
There's a lot of really good ones in Genshin Impact too. I can't think of any like titles off the top of my head, but there's a lot of like the intro theme Night, for instance, is really peaceful. Then you've got old Charlene Night. I just love so much, but it definitely it's a dulcet tone. Also, the overworld theme from Final Fantasy VIII would also be on my list too. Yeah. I think that's all I've got.
What's your next category for us, Ash?
So should we do the epic to my ears, or should we do the I'm not crying, I've got dust in my eyes?
I'll let Marco decide.
Let's do I'm not crying, I've got dust in my eyes.
Yes.
You want me to go first, or do you want to
go? I'll go first. I kind of got mine written down in front of me, so I'll not have to think this one off the top of my head. So again, like you're saying, when you play a video game and you're kind of committed to it, and you're playing the story, you're invested in the character development. That kind of really does loan to the music as well. So what definitely makes the song is plus the game that kind of makes that overall. This is the most devastating moment. So obviously, just it's been mentioned previously. Price of Freedom, Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core. That is up there, of course. Never forget Halo 3. That one, especially at the point of the game where it's played, that kind of tugs on the heartstrings a little bit. Answers, Final Fantasy 14 Realm Reborn. If we're going to go into a more specific one there, that there,
Mm-hmm.
I wish I was there at the end of 1.0, but where you can see the videos online where people kind of logged in for that last
Yeah,
moment,
yeah, yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and then obviously that video and the answers place that was just incredible. Aerith theme, I think that probably wouldn't have been as devastating if it wasn't for the music, but for its time, that was quite a big one. And my current favorite, and Paul knows this one, is Close in the Distance. That one, especially at that
course.
point of the game, you're so emotionally exhausted, and you get hit by that bombshell, and you're just like, oh god, it's too much now. But yeah, that's definitely the 5 for me.
That's a good list.
Yeah. It's odd. I'll write mine down quickly. He said that one. He said that one. There's a lot of.
Instead of all, God damn it, you got the
Yeah.
best ones.
Pretty much. It's hard to not retread some ground because me and Ash share such a similar taste in video game music.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the first time you're in the opening song for Survive, just the way I mentioned this earlier, it's just the way it's presented. It's a heartstring tug, and it destroys me. It's such a beautiful little piano piece. There's not much to it, but it's the inflections in the song. So that'd be one. I think Footfalls for me, if I'm going to do a 14 song, when you're in the second phase of Endsinger.
Mm-hmm.
When you're trying to match Meteon's promise.
See, no, I actually have that one in my epic to my ears, because at the point where you're doing that battle, you're it's not one of those you're fighting a losing battle. You're getting souped up and getting really pissed off, isn't it? It's that timer, and then you realize that's yours, and yeah, that song kind of sounds that's more of my epic one than my the one that makes me upset.
Yeah. So Price of Freedom again, just the way that ending plays out. It's stuck with me. It's like a haunting memory. It's something that's going to stick with me forever.
I know we don't want to kind of talk about it. I know it is an old game, but like some people are going to be experiencing it for the first time with the HD release. But yeah, it's not just the music and like you know what's going to happen to the character, but like it's kind of playing through his memories as well. At that point, it really does make it.
You're
quite
doing
brutal.
this 40-hour RPG, and everything builds up to the ending. All these moments of Price of Freedom that's played throughout the game are these pivotal moments of Zack's journey to lead to that ending. Yeah, there's another song from there called Under the Apple Tree.
Oh,
Yeah,
that sounds probably sad.
Yeah, I don't know if I describe it fully as sad. It's not played during sad moments, but it's, again, because you get this with video games, you spend so much time with these characters that you build such an emotional resonance than you can with a movie character you see for an hour. You're controlling somebody's footsteps as you do these games. So this song is, I think, when you visit your mentor's hometown. It's a beautiful acoustic piece with this little acoustic solo over the top of the bits that builds up. It's hard not being musically gifted in a way to articulate it, but when you listen to it, you could see the ups and downs of the way it wants you to feel. There's parts of it that sounds happier, and there's the sad part. It's like a bittersweet song.
Yeah.
To Xanakin, I think, is definitely up there.
Oof. Mm-hmm.
And funny enough, speaking of 10 to 1,000 words, because of the context of 10, going into 10-2, without saying too much, a lot of the events of 10-2 reflect back to the history of 10, back when Dream Xanakin was real Xanakin. So it's a story connected from that time to current time, and it's this thing in this song, 1,000 Words, is Eunice singing, but she's drawn on his dress for your job crystal in 14, as you know, as the memories of the warriors of the past who've held the stories. So you've got this singer from 1,000 years ago channeling this song through Una. She speaks out to Spira, and yeah, I think that one's number 5 for me.
Those are good. For me, I think Emil's Sacrifice from Near Replicant is up there. Not in any particular order. Flows, obviously, was
Good one.
profoundly powerful.
Yeah, Amanda's vocals on any song just hits.
For sure. For sure. What else? I mean, there's just so many. I think, yeah, Elden Beast really impacted me in a big way when I listened to it for the first time. It was like a really transformational experience listening to that. And like it left me sort of like contemplating life a lot. Somnus instrumental is really, yeah. And honestly, I know I mentioned it earlier, but the song from well, I guess it's more epic, but the Unsung War from Ace Combat, or I can't remember if it's 4 or 5, but that one also hit me really hard because it's so like powerful, you know. And like I remember crying like tears of like joy in a way, even though it's a tearjerker. Like and also Memories of Mother from God of War was really poignant for me because that humming section, is really, really beautiful. I think it's just sad. Yeah, but those are my 4 or 5, however many I just listed.
Yeah, there's another song I would mention. I do not know the track name. As much as I try to remember it, I remember the scene it's from more. And it's the track that plays in Metal Gear Solid 4 when you're crawling through that radioactive corridor near the end of the game.
Isn't that the love theme?
Yeah. That's the one. Yeah, just that scene, just Snake getting eviscerated by being essentially microwaved through that corridor. It's like scenes like that stick so much.
I love Metal Gear Solid 4.
It's my favorite movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Gotta love Kojima. Yeah, we're gonna make this game with 5 hours of gameplay and 25 hours of cutscenes.
I wouldn't have it any other way, though. Death Stranding actually kind of impacted me a little bit, too. Something about the bleakness of it. I went back and started playing it after the pandemic sort of like peaked, and man, that really hit in a different way, for sure.
I can't remember.
I don't know what the song
is. Oh, go on, Ash.
The Asylums for the Feeling, is that the song you were going to mention there? That was. I've never played Death Stranding, but I had heard that song that was made for that game, and yeah, like you say, it's quite haunting to listen.
Yeah,
to. It's so good.
Yeah, in the game, you've just come out of basically the tutorial, and you're walking back towards the city. Through the way Kojima had the game developed, everything looks realistic. It's dark and gritty, like real life is, and then you just pan out with this HUD-less screen to this song playing after the small intro and just setting up what this world is. It fits. It fits so much.
Yeah, it really does. And you said Epic is next?
Yeah, so the last one I got is the top 5 epic to my ears inducing. So what I kind of included here was not so much like the music itself being epic, but like in the moment of the game that he's playing. So like, for example, I've got here Halo 2 Following Flight. So in this one, you actually jump in one of the ships and you're kind of chasing after, I forgot the name of him, it's one of the elites, but you are chasing after it, and the music just starts playing at that point. It's completely unexpected. It's a really change in tempo from the rest of the kind of ambient Halo music that's played up to that point. And it was, someone might correct me if I'm wrong, but when the original Halo 2, it was done by the band Incubus, but it was when they remastered it, it was done by a different band, Misa Manor. So it's I cannot remember the name of it, and it was much heavier, but it sounded better. I preferred the newer version, but they're both just as equally as good. So Paul has mentioned this one, but he mentioned this one in the I'm Not Crying, I Just Got Dust in My Eye, which was quite surprising, but that was the Maker's Ruin Footfall. For me, that one was more epic, just because obviously the battle that is included in it, it just kind of psychs you up. Bury the Light,
Big time.
so Virgil's theme, Devil May Cry 5, that's just incredible. That really does, well, I think most of the music in Devil May Cry 5 psychs you up, or just Devil May Cry in general. Burn My Dread, Last Battle. So the very last battle. So this is the different version of the Burn My Dread of Persona 3. That one, is kind of an epic. Oops, sorry, got a cup of tea here. Come in. Thank you very much. That's it. Really kind of does lend to that kind of last battle. It's kind of the final stand type music, and it really does sound good. And the other one, which is quite an odd one, I put down, but I'm going to mention it because you've been mentioning here, like when it came to the Chocobo theme, like obviously that's being used throughout the Final Fantasy series, and what was your most favorite like rendition of it? But Matoya's Cave of Final Fantasy 14, from the fact that it just it was one of the original songs from the series, and for it to actually, it still sounds like the original, but like it's their own take on it, and it's still such a fantastic song to hear, especially at that moment as well in the game when you first hear it.
Good list.
See, Paul's
it's managed to write down my 5. I've been really. I could once again not get away from Final Fantasy. So I'll get the 3 Final Fantasy ones out of the way. Luckily, they're not the same game. The first one, again, going to 14, is the rendition of Footfalls that plays when you're fighting Xenos. Post credits, the one-on-one epic battle.
Yeah.
I purposely paused. Went into the menu, turned off all sounds except the background music for that fight. Just so I wanted to pay attention. I turned my HUD off. Luckily, I knew my rotation enough that I did not see the saber screen. But I was fighting quickly, screenshot.
What about the Xenos audio cues about he's about to do a particular attack, so you know how to run away?
A test of your reflexes.
I know.
Yeah, so that one, Maybe I'm a Lion from Final Fantasy VIII when you're up against Ultimation Griever.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Again, listen to the Black Mages version of that, where it's a bit more rocky, a bit more metal. Fantastic song. Just a little... Just that riff just gets stuck in my head so much. And the last Final Fantasy one is Otherworld. When you're fighting Braska's Last Leon, when you're fighting Jacked.
Yeah. That is
yeah.
Because that song, from the even just as an epic piece, even that opening scene, just seeing Tidus with his feet in water over the Blitzball arena, with his head back with the doo-doo, wow, doo-doo, wow. Just that entire FMV shocked me, seeing that when he... Because this was, before the PS2 had come out, seeing that cutscene and graphical fidelity, so it's just like, holy shit, this looks amazing, to holy crap, this sounds amazing. But yeah, when you got that fight, and in between you got those, it's got to be Tidus. Are you Tidus or Tidus, lads?
Tidus for me, but I think it's Tidus.
When I watched an interview with the voice actor saying that Tidus, I'm like, all right, I'm sticking with that. Next up, as I've mentioned before, is The Fog from Persona 4 Golden.
Yeah.
The entire fight is, leading up to it, it's so sad and depressing. You've got this character you've met, you've journeyed with, built your bond with, and turns out they're like a god, and their purpose is to end things, and you're there trying to reject it, but you don't want to kill your friend at the same time. And this epic song comes on with it. You're like, I don't know what I'm feeling, but this is epic. It just a mixed mash of making you feel things. And lastly, as I mentioned earlier, Devil Never Cry. Just for the fact that credit scene, and I'm just fighting my way through it. I would have mentioned the ending song to Mass Effect 1, but that was just more of a shock song, M4 Part 2 by Fauntz. It's just this beautiful 11-minute song that goes through the credits, and I think it was because it's to the point that you could skip credits in video games, so usually it's like, yeah, right, I'm done, let's move on to the next one. But it actually stopped me in my tracks to sit there and listen to the song. Yeah, so that's my 5 for this.
For me, I think most recently like Lich Dragon Fortisax, of course. Then I also recently heard Punishing Grey Raven soundtrack, and that's really blown my mind. Really blown my mind, actually. And Lamia, Hikari, Narwhal, those are all on that list. They're just so good and very different from what I've ever heard. Really good. And then also, yeah, I think it's a toss up between Shadowbringers and Footfalls, but I think Footfalls is.
I almost said Shadowbringers to fight against Hades.
Yeah, but also like In the Balance should be on that list for me. So like, even though it's not necessarily epic, it's just it's just so good. Understandably, it's
that's such a banger.
Then there's the oh my god, it's so good. Then there's also Die Midsommernacht Fantasie from Genshin Impact, which is really sick in like a classical sense. And then Safajiva from Monster Hunter, Slap Me in the Face. That is a crazy song. Really crazy, actually. Oh, and then Guilty Gear Midnight Ride or Midnight Carnival is another epic song to me that just like, and then Buried Light, of course. So those are mine. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember listening to Buried Light the first time and just like, bloody hell, Casey Edwards, you keep blowing this out to the park. I do love going to Devil May Cry with the series. I love the fact that Capcom refused to hire the same person to write songs. So when Casey was writing Chaos, the Dante theme for 5, it's like, yeah, you're not allowed to use Devil Never Cry. But I kind of wanted to remake it. Nope, not allowed.
Certainly keeps it fresh.
It really does. Also gives a challenge of, right, this is sort of the Dante style, but this is sort of the Nero style, and trying to elevate it.
Mm-hmm.
There was one little top 5 I wanted to write, but I couldn't think of many others. There's only one that came to mind for me, and it was the top anxiety-inducing songs. Have any of you played the Alien Trilogy game? I played it on Sega Saturn.
On PlayStation as a child.
I think the track is just called The Queen. There is a level in that game when you have to fight the Queen Alien, and the song that starts playing, it was my brother's Sega Saturn. I was about 8 at the time, and I remember watching him playing that level and just royally shitting myself. Not because it was so much terrifying, it was the music. It was just, it brought on the most anxiety kind of panic attack that you can imagine, and it must have done so with my brother as well, because it just causes you to fly into a panic and just start throwing all the ammunition you possibly can at the alien, because you're just in a freak panic running around in circles. And if that was the composer's intention for that to happen at that particular point in the game, then it worked.
That sort of thing,
those games.
I'm just going to say the Silent Hill soundtrack, doesn't matter which one, that soundtrack is designed to cause anxiety.
Yeah. I think about Dino Crisis too. That has a lot of anxiety, that series. Oof. I hope that never gets me remade. That game scares the crap out of me still. Oh my
we're
gosh,
getting
Dino Crisis.
Exoprimal instead. You're fine.
Yeah, that's true.
Playing the first Resident Evil game as a kid. I know I wasn't supposed to, but my brother was
Oof.
just like, "Oh, I'll have a go," and you're playing it, and just those camera angles and like you're in a sheer panic, and you have to wait for your character to pivot on the spot and then start moving, and then suddenly the camera angle turns and you're terrified. But it's when you find the safe room and you truly feel safe when you hear that music and you feel
Yeah,
like I'm just
yeah.
gonna live here forever. I'm not going anywhere else. I
Until
won't
Mr. X, until Tyrant, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh well, that was in 2 and 3.
yeah, just
Yeah.
yeah.
One for
There
me
is no
for
safe room.
anxiety is one that is from Elden Ring, and the first time hearing it was on your tier list. It's the one that you said would be an S with context. It was like the third or fourth song you reviewed. It was the one that is very, very dark.
Let me see. The third, I don't remember.
It's early
Let's
on.
see.
It's one of the first ones he did on the stream. But the way it came to my mind was like you're seeing an army come at you. It was like a pretty out of context video game song for me. But that's what I felt. It's like you got this army bearing down on you. And then then I was just visioning what games this could be. It's like, it brought Drakengard into my head a fair bit.
Speaking of scary games. Not literally, but I just mean
that
like
game was just
that
weird.
final boss. Yeah.
It's a game that I love,
God.
but yeah. Trying to connect that series together with the weird endings is PT. Yeah, that's anxiety driven. Like, I don't remember the music in that. I just remember being anxious 24/7 trying out that demo.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh,
yeah,
that
that-
demo. Demo.
Like, I've got quite.
It's weird how that demo like. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, it's just crazy how that demo like just made such a lasting impression and how terrifying it was. Oh my gosh, it's just the room, it's just the hallway, but
Yeah.
it just
Just
goes
this
to
one
show
loop.
how you can cause like that.
Yeah,
To
Colin.
me, that demo was spectacular for showing what you can do with horror genre. They think like having big scary things jumping out on you and seeing all the blood and gore is what causes what's like kind of good formula to a horror. But that demo, where just the little things where like the photo frames were changing and just the little things that was just so uncomfortable. That's the only thing I could say about that. Like every time like you walked around that corridor and the change that was happening, and it just made to a point it just got so uncomfortable. Like I don't want to walk. I do not want to walk any further.
Yeah.
exactly.
Like, what I was going to say is, I've got when it comes to horror stuff, I've got a vivid imagination. I'm like, this can actually happen. It's the more realistic stuff. Is like, this can happen. Like, someone could come through my door now. It plays on my mind. So I'll watch my horror stuff, but I'll watch it in the day to let my mind chill out for the rest of the day.
Yeah. A few hours. Yeah.
You know, easily my brain overworks with this stuff. But I
Before
remember.
bed, I need a block of cheese.
No. But Ash knows this one. It's like the Resi 7 VR.
Yeah, that was a what was it? Impulse purchase of mine to buy this VR headset. And I had a new job, and I was like, oh, let's get this VR headset. And but
Try out the
Resi
fun
7,
things.
let's try this out. Yeah, try out the toboggan game. So like that's great. You know, these are all fun. Like
Bit of Star Wars Battlefront,
VR.
Gwen. Holy crap, that wing is quite far out there.
Yeah.
No wonder you was
And
crashing
I-
it on the screen.
I think I got to the scene of Resi 7 where you're walking down from the attic and your girlfriend in the game, she's like crawling up or contorted up the stairs and that headset, and I just went, done. I'll just play it on the screen.
No.
But again, the
my
ambient
poor
music in the
heart-
background for that just elevates anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
no,
I
I
could.
can't do that.
I could. They didn't make
I
Resi
can't.
8 VR compatible, didn't they? I think that
No,
might be
they're
because of
going
the amount of
backwards to that, I
died.
think.
Are they? I thought it would be the case of the amount of people that died of strokes from playing Resi 7 in VR. They've like, this is not a good idea. Just play it on screen.
Right, gents, we are about an hour and a half into the show now, so one last topic before we wrap things up. What singular video game soundtrack would you recommend to someone?
With or without context?
Without
Without
context.
context.
Just you might think you might not like video game music. Have a listen to this and see what you think.
Uh, for me, it's the soundtrack to Genshin Impact. I have to say, it's a very, very, very good soundtrack. It's extremely diverse and unique, and very interesting. So that would be my choice.
I've got a bit of an odd one here from the fact that if we, like you said, not going on context, we're just going on like just nice ambient music to listen to, and it's one we haven't mentioned, and actually a game we have not mentioned, which unfortunately, so the composers were Russell Shaw and Danny Elfman, and that was Fable.
Oh, yeah,
The
Fable.
Fable soundtrack. It reminds. It's very Harry. Well, I say very. Yeah, kind of Harry Potter esque type music. It's a bit more kind of fancy esque compared to like Skyrim, for example. I know Skyrim is fancy, but I guess Fable will be kind of more high-fi fancy in its element. Uh, yeah, I because I could suggest Final Fantasy and a particular Final Fantasy game and still listen to the soundtrack, but like you're saying, if we were kind of going out of context, like if they hadn't played the game, I don't think that those songs from that particular album would strike a chord with them as much as it would if they had played the game and they were invested in the game and kind of enjoyed it. But if I'm just being able to go, oh, here, listen to this song if they haven't, or listen to this CD if they hadn't played the game, yeah, I would say Fable actually, quite a nice one.
For me, it's easy to cheat with games like Tony Hawk's or Wipeout that use real bands. Because then you've just got
Yeah.
an album you could just, check this out. Like, limiting to actual video game music, again, could sort of cheat with Final Fantasy 14 with the primals. But I think I would choose the Oxenfree soundtrack.
Ah.
Because,
And that is actually you're a good example of that because you haven't played the game.
yeah,
So
it is very much
so-
a chill
you know,
album that can be listened to completely out of context of the game and be enjoyed.
Yeah.
Nice.
So with that, I think we can wrap up the show, gents. Thank you again, Marco, for joining us. It has been a pleasure.
Sure. Absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So what I'd like to do at the end is let you self-promote, let people know where they can find you and what you're up to.
Yeah, so I'm on YouTube, Marco Meatball, and I've got a Twitter as well. I think it's Marco D Meatball. That's really the best place to find me, and I put out content pretty much daily, and I stream a few times a week as well. So thanks everybody.
Thank you all for watching us as well, people who caught us live. And we will be back on the 26th talking with Smart Plays about Pokemon. So till next time, see ya.